Hey guys, today in the shop we're going to be talking about a tool that's hopefully going to save you some time and money on these 6.7 Fords. This is a problem that happens far too often on these things. So we're going to be trying out the NINO by ProMaxx tools. So if you've ever done any kind of EGR repair on a 6.7 Ford, or maybe you're in the middle of doing one now and you broke the bolts and that's why you're here, you'll know that the two bolts that go from this tube to the exhaust manifold are extremely easy to break. There's a few tricks to maybe reducing the chance of them breaking, but the reality is if you do enough of them, or sometimes just your luck the way it is, those bolts will break. And when they do, you're kind of in a tough spot. The problem with it is the manifold is cast and the bolts are titanium alloy, so they're extremely hard to drill. So the options are try to drill it, hopefully you get it straight, and odds are it's going to give you a really hard time. Or pull all this apart and replace the exhaust manifold. Huge job. So the guys over at ProMaxx Tool came out with this tool, and what it is designed to sit inside the hole, the port of the manifold, and it lines up all these drilling dies and allows you to drill out the manifold and then tap it and put a stainless steel insert in there that's a lifetime repair. Now, the nice part about this is the fasteners don't gall to the inserts like a normal titanium fastener into a cast manifold does. So the next time you need to take this back apart, the bolts come right out, no problem. So the kit comes with all the drill bits you need, a tap, all the alignment bushings for the different drill bits and the tap, special tool to install the inserts, and 2 of the locking inserts. For some of you, this is an all too familiar sight. Go to do a job like an EGR cooler or whatever it may be where you have to take that EGR pipe off and next thing you know the bolt snaps. It's a really horrible feeling. I've had it happen to me a couple of times and it ends up turning into a huge nightmare. I did get one to drill out, but I'll tell you the amount of time and the amount of drill bits I went through to get that drilled out, and then I ended up using a traditional style heli-coil. It wasn't really the best, but I mean, you know, that's why people come out with tools like this to hopefully help make your life a little bit easier. So what this ProMaxx tool does is this little expansion plug here goes into the manifold, and then you line it up and you tighten it down, and it keeps this bracket centered on the manifold. And then you can thread in each of the dies, successfully getting larger and larger, and get this drilled out. Then you tap it and put the insert in. So I'm just going to go through the steps here. I'm going to line this plate up. There is an optional kit, an additional part you can get for it that goes if you only have one bolt that's broken off. You can slide it into the other side and put a bolt through, and it helps line this up even better. It's not necessary. It just makes your life a little easier. I do suggest looking at that part of the kit. And if you can afford it, definitely spring for the extra parts. But let me get this thing set up. I'll get my drill out and we'll start trying this thing out. So once we get this lined up, we're just going to snug up this center. I don't think you really need to go too crazy on this. Just tighten it up until it doesn't move anymore. And that broken off bolt is perfectly centered in that hole. Before you start drilling on this, like anything else, make sure you cover up all the ports, any exposed holes. You can use either tape or, if you got it, a nice fender cover, and just kind of make sure anywhere that drill shavings could get, is covered up. Last thing you want to do is get some chunks of metal inside one of the ports, or even drop a tool in there, and then you're going to be chasing a whole nother problem. So the bolt that most commonly breaks is the one closest to the EGR cooler. I have had the one break a couple of times that's closer to the intake plenum. If that one does break, you're most likely going to have to take off this aluminum bridge here that comes in and feeds the turbo. You're not going to be able to get a straight shot on drilling that with this in place. It's really not that big of a deal to undo. You take off this other EGR pipe, you unplug a couple of things on this throttle body here, and then a couple of bolts hold the thing down. It's pretty easy to take out, but if you are doing that bolt closest to the driver's side, you're going to want to go ahead and take that out now. So let's get these ports covered up and go from there. So as always, make sure you follow the instructions that come with the kit. Like anything else, thoroughly read them, make sure you understand them before you start drilling or going crazy with anything and causing yourself some problems. And another thing, always wear safety glasses when you're drilling. I used to not be a big fan of safety glasses. Got metal in my eye a few times. If you've never had metal in your eye, it is not a fun experience. I don't want to go into the stories of what they have to do to get it out, but if you've had metal in your eye and you've had to get it out, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So when you're drilling or using any kind of power tool or anything like that, just make sure you use some safety glasses. So depending on the kit you selected, you're going to be starting with either the 2125 bushing or the 2270 bushing. Now, obviously, the kit that comes with the more drill bits, it's a little more money, but it does make your life a little easier because you start with a smaller pilot hole and it steps up. I feel like it's an easier repair. It's probably a little bit quicker too. But I'm sure this would still work fine. I'm going to go ahead and try it with the smaller setup and then step up. I think it'd take a little more effort to drill with this, but like I said, I think you'd still be fine with this one. But what you're going to do is you're going to select the bushing you need, and then you select the corresponding drill bit, take the bushing, thread it into the plate. So the nice part is they actually thread right into this plate. Then you can use a couple of drops of lube. Now follow the instructions. The instructions are going to be very specific on how deep to put the drill bit. On this small one, for example, it says to start with just the drill bit into the chuck 3/8 of an inch, and then you're going to drill all the way down until the chuck contacts the plate. All the instructions are very specific. Like I said, read completely through them. Make sure you understand it before you start drilling. But I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to put some lube on this, and we're going to get drilling. So ProMaxx says you only need 2 drops of this lubricant on their drill bits. So it says to put the drops in the bit in the bushing. Once you do that, it says to take the bit and just gently rest it on top of the bolt and cycle the drill a couple of times. Now what this is to do is to kind of get the bit started without having it walk. You don't want to put a ton of pressure. The top of that bolt could be a little bit crooked and could try to walk the drill bit to the side. I'm sure the bushings last longer and the hole's a lot straighter if you get that pilot hole started first. From there, apply nice steady pressure and keep the drill speed under what ProMaxx recommends in the instructions. Stop regularly to clear the drilling chips. So this is where you're either going to start or where you're going to be after you've done the first few steps of the larger kit. And you're going to be on the bushing number 2270. And you're going to install that. And you're going to grab the corresponding drill bit. And they want you to measure up 1.5 inches from the tip of the drill bit to the shank. And when I measured it, it's right about where the flutes of the drill bit stop. So you measure up that 1.5 inches, and then you're just going to mark it with some tape, because that's just as deep as you want to go. Then again, with a little bit of lube. According to ProMaxx, less is more on this. So you don't really need a whole lot. About 2 drops. And then the last drill bushing, that's the 2420. Same thing, mark the drill bit about 1.5 inches up. This one is on the flutes a little bit here, so make sure you measure that one really good. And then this is the last bit. Let's get a little bit more lube on this thing, drill this hole out, and then we'll go on to tapping it and putting the insert in. To tap it, you're going to use the bushing number 2485, and that just threads right into place. Then the only thing this kit doesn't come with that you're going to have to get is a tap holder. I believe I got this one from Snap-on Tools. I'm not sure. I can do a little digging for you. I'll put a link in the description. It's a number 6 tap holder, and I'm going to put that right on the tap to a 3/8 drive, and once again, 2 nice drops of this ProMaxx lubricant. And then when you're tapping, you want to go nice and slow, or you only need to go about a 1/4 turn at a time, 1/4 turn in, then back it off, then going a little farther, then back it off, and go nice and easy. You never want to force a tap. If the tap feels like it's binding, it probably is. Last thing you want to do is snap a tap off. That would mean you just wasted all this time, all this money for nothing, because once that tap is broken off in there, you're in trouble. So I'm going to go get my extension. We're going to start tapping this out, and then I'll show you how to install the insert. Now all that's left is to put this insert in. This is a pretty cool little design. So how it works is you get the little insert and the little tabs stick into the little holes on the end of the tool. Then you use the tool to thread the insert into the hole you drilled. And you want to just thread it down until it stops. Then, once it stops, take the tool off, turn it 90 degrees, and then hit the top of the tool with a hammer, and it's going to drive those two little tabs down and lock the threads in. Once you hear it bottom out, that's it. I'll tell you what, I'm pretty happy with the way that turned out. It definitely is a much more permanent repair than a heli-coil, I can say that much. It's going to be nice dealing with that stainless steel insert because, you know, if you know anything about these 6.7s, you know that this EGR is not going to be off just one time. The chances of having to go back in there, pretty high possibility. And the fact that the fastener isn't going to gall into this insert, that alone is a huge benefit to doing this. It's pretty straightforward. I mean, the biggest thing is being patient, reading the instructions. There's lots of great information in there about, you know, how fast to run the drill, exactly how to set it up, how deep to go. As long as you take your time and follow those instructions, I think you'll be pretty good. Overall, it's definitely a time saver. If you've ever broken one of these off and you had to fix it, drilling it out the traditional way, it sucks. I mean, trying to get it straight. Some guys are really good with a drill bit. Like most of us, I'm not very good at it. So drilling out a bolt that hard into a soft manifold like this is not fun. And then the other option is pulling the turbo, replacing the manifold, and most customers aren't going to want to hear that. So especially if you're a shop owner and you're working on a lot of these 6.7s, this kit is going to pay for itself in probably one job. The first time you do it, it's going to pay for itself. Definitely something nice to have in your toolbox. So if you guys like this video, hit that like button. Maybe think about giving me a subscribe. I want to say thank you to ProMaxx Tools for sending this out to me. I'm going to be really happy to have this thing kicking around the shop. It'll definitely save me a lot of time, that's for sure. If you guys need anything, go check out their website. I'll put a link in the description. They have this kit. They have a couple other kits for the 6.7s for the injector hold downs and another one for pulling the injectors. And then I know they got a bunch of kits for the manifolds, exhaust manifolds, same thing, drill them out. They have a few that are really time saving. So make sure you give them a look. Hey guys, I really appreciate you watching. And I just want to say once again, thanks for watching In the Shop.